Hi guys, my name's Barry and welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be ranking the Halloween timelines.
Everybody's a suspect!
Coming to get you, Bobber.
Wolfman's got Nards!
I've never ranked the timelines before on my channel, and I don't think I've ever mentioned which one I favour before either. There is 4 timelines in the Halloween timeline. If we ignore Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, that's not part of any timeline. Let's just assume that is in an alternate reality, an alternate universe, so that's not going to be included. We've got 4 timelines here. The ones that I know of are Halloween 1, Halloween 2, Halloween H2O and Halloween Resurrection, that's one timeline. Then we've got Rob Zombie's Halloween, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, that's the second timeline or another timeline. We've got Halloween 1, Halloween 2, Halloween 4, Halloween 5 and Halloween 6. That is another timeline. And then finally we've got Halloween 1 and Halloween from 2018, which carries on with Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends, but for the time being there's just those 2 movies in that timeline. Another special mention before I begin, guys, you've probably noticed the Halloween t-shirt that I've got. I got this from Mad About Horror in the UK. Now Mad About Horror is a horror website that sells all different horror things like collectible figures, t-shirts now, Fangoria magazines and lots of other things, but check them out. I'm going to leave the link down below. The reason I'm mentioning them is because this t-shirt is actually from Terror Threads in the US, and I know that the US get a lot of great websites to buy t-shirts from, but in the UK I don't know of any ones that are selling really good ones like the Fright Rags t-shirts and Terror Threads, etc. But Mad About Horror, again, they're coming to the rescue again. They're bringing out some really good stuff from overseas. They sell a lot of trick-or-treat stuff and they've just added in a lot of t-shirts. So this is where I got the t-shirt from. So check them out if you haven't already. And at number 4 on the list is the THORN timeline, aka the Jamie Lloyd timeline. Now this does consist of the first 2 movies as well. Now again, this has no bearing on the quality of all the movies. This is just my timeline preference, and that's why the number 4 spot is the THORN storyline, or the THORN trilogy as some people would call it. I'm not a fan at all of the THORN curse, the THORN trilogy, the THORN anything when it's got anything to do with Michael Myers, because I think Michael Myers should be a grounded character like the Norman Bates character in the Psycho movies, and that's the way that's the way Michael Myers should be kept. So when we get that supernatural element to Halloween, to the Michael Myers character, that's a no-go for me. Now obviously the first 2 movies in this timeline are great, Halloween 1 and Halloween 2, but that's why they're so good, because when you venture out after that, Halloween 4 not so much, because Halloween 4 doesn't really tackle the THORN timeline, it doesn't tackle the THORN element to it, and I do love Halloween 4, but it still tacks on that Laurie Strode, it tacks on the Jamie Lloyd character, bringing into it like a Jamie Lloyd trilogy with Halloween 5 and Halloween 6. So I'm guessing, and I'm assuming that with this timeline, it's only really bad because of the last 2 movies in the timeline, Halloween 5 and Halloween 6. If it wasn't for those 2, this would be a great timeline, but those 2 completely mess it up. And at number 3 is the Rob Zombie timeline. Now, the Rob Zombie's remake isn't a bad movie, it's actually quite a good movie, but I think when you look at these 2 movies as a whole, similar to what I'd done with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise, where you've got the remake and the prequel to the remake of the Texas Chainsaw, if you remove that completely from all the timelines that are available, they're good on their own. And I think that the Rob Zombie timeline would be good on its own if only it wasn't a Halloween movie, or any of them were Halloween movies, because I did like the first one, but I only liked the second half of the first movie. The first part dragged in when we got the whole history and backstory of Michael Myers, and then it led up to something really good, and I liked the ending of Rob Zombie's remake. But then you've got Halloween 2 in this timeline, and that completely messes it up again. It doesn't mess up in terms of the quality of the movies together, but it messes it up in the Michael Myers timeline because it's not a Michael Myers movie. So as much as I didn't love the timeline, it wasn't a bad timeline at all. The bonus for this timeline is it's not confusing. It's 2 movies and that's it, and the movies are set back to back from each other as well, so it's not a bad thing to do. So I think Rob Zombie had something positive where he was working with his own timeline, but that was the only positive about this timeline. And at number 2 is the newest timeline in this franchise, and that's Halloween 1 to Halloween from 2018. Now obviously this could still change depending on what happens with Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends, but for the time being this is the number 2 spot, and I think the reason for it is because it completely removes the Dr. Loomis character. We had Dr. Loomis in the first movie, which is great, but everything that he'd done in the other timeline is completely swept aside. And I do contradict myself a few times, and you'll see that later on in this video, but I just think the absence of Dr. Loomis between part 1 and the next part in 2018, it leaves a sour taste in my mouth. And when I compare Halloween 2018 to the likes of Halloween H2O, I'm not loving it. You know, I do like the 2018 movie. I think it's a great movie, probably one of the best movies in the franchise. But when you compare it to other movies like Halloween H2O, it falls short. Another issue I have with this timeline is there is only 2 movies so far, and so we've got an unfinished product, an unfinished timeline. So time will tell if this goes up, but it could also even go down. And then number 1 is of course what we call the sister timeline, and this consists of 4 movies. Now I consider it consisting of 3 movies in total, but it does include Resurrection, but we'll go into that in a few minutes. So we've got Halloween 1, Halloween 2, Halloween H2O, and Halloween Resurrection. These movies all feature Jamie Lee Curtis, they all feature Laurie Strode. So that's a good thing, because I do love the Laurie Strode character. Yes, there's great characters in the other timelines like Jamie Lloyd, but something brings me back to Laurie Strode. And I know that Laurie Strode is in the 2018 timeline, but for the time being, I prefer this timeline. Now, one of the reasons is we've got Dr. Loomis for 2 movies this time. Now, I know that they do remove Dr. Loomis because we've not got Halloween 4 anymore, we've not got Halloween 5 or Halloween 6. So like I said, I will contradict myself and say that I still prefer this one over my number 2 spot. So even though Dr. Loomis is removed from some of the movies, he's still not removed from Halloween 2, so we've still got that better backstory with Dr. Loomis, and then we still get his voice, well not Donald Pleasance's voice, but Dr. Loomis's voice in Halloween H2O. So we know that this is a complete trilogy when it comes to Halloween 1, 2 and H2O. I think those 3 movies make a perfect trilogy. Yes, we've got Halloween Resurrection after it, and we've got the abomination of the end, or the change up of the end of H2O, but I tend to ignore that, and that doesn't take this timeline down a notch for me. I still think this is the superior timeline, especially with the end of H2O. If we had Halloween 1, Halloween 2 and Halloween H2O as a complete trilogy on his own timeline, I think that's the perfect timeline. I know somebody's going to mention it, so I'm going to say it right now. How many times do you think I said the word timeline in this video? Leave your comments down below. What's your preferred timeline though, guys? I'd love to hear your thoughts, because I know there's mixed reviews and a mixed bag for what people do prefer, because I know there is a lot of lovers of Rob Zombie's timeline, which I'm not going to knock. I know there's lovers of the timeline that I love, but I also know there's lovers of the THORN trilogy. There's just so many directions you can go in, and there's so many ways that you can create your own timeline. But personally for me, my preferred timeline is Halloween 1, Halloween 2 and Halloween H2O. That's my trilogy. I know Resurrection's included, but for me it's just those first 3 movies, or those 3 movies in particular. But leave a comment down below, let me know what you prefer. As always guys, thanks a lot for watching, thanks for subscribing, I'll see you soon, bye bye.